She set the plate in front of me, roast chicken and rosemary, then wiped her hands on a towel without looking up. "Don't analyze me tonight," she said. "Just eat." That was new. Usually Jenna met me at the door with a smile and a kiss that tasted like coffee. I'd stopped on the way home and picked up a small candle from the farmer's market. Lavender, her favorite. I set it on the counter. "Gift," I told her. "Nothing dramatic." "Mark, you always make a thing out of small stuff," she answered, already turning away. "Let it go." The fork paused in my hand. I let the moment hang. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have skipped the candle and moved faster on the rest. We ate mostly in silence. The house was our usual evening. Quiet music from the speaker in the corner, dogs snoring under the table, the soft rhythm of a dishwasher that always needed coaxing. She cleared plates before I stood, another small change. When I reached for the faucet to rinse, she nudged me aside with her hip. "I've got it." "You mad at me or gravity?" I asked. "Neither. I'm just tired." "Of me?" She rubbed her eyes. "Mark, please." I kept my voice even. "Something's off. You being short with me isn't you." "It is tonight." "I'm fine." Fine Mint shut it down. I took the hint, kissed the top of her head, and gave her the evening. Not because I was scared of a tough conversation, because I wanted to respect the person I married. The next morning, she was all business. Coffee, toast, a quick smile that looked borrowed. "How's your day?" I asked, tying my tie by the window. "Back to back," she said, staring at her phone. "I might be late. Text me. I'll keep dinner warm." She pocketed the phone without answering. By Thursday, the chill had a routine. Replies shrank. Touch faded. She'd sit on the far end of the couch, legs tucked under her, scrolling. I try to start something light. "You still want to go upstate next month?" "I don't know," she'd reply, eyes on the screen. "Can we not plan my whole life right now?" Friday morning, I set a mug by her elbow. She didn't look up. "Jenna, talk to me." I said I'm tired. Tired people still use words. Don't push. "So here's what I'm doing," I told her, calm. "I'm canceling the wine tasting trip so we don't force anything. I'll work late a few nights and get out of your hair. If you need something from me, say it. I'm not going to chase you around the house and guess." She finally met my eyes. "You cancel things without asking now. I'm not punishing you. I'm removing pressure. You look at me like I'm a to-do list. That's on me for stacking the list." She exhaled and leaned back. "Whatever you want." That night, she came home with a paper bag from the bakery down the street. "For you," she said, softer. I was snappy. "I know." "I noticed," I said, but I smiled and took a bite of the cinnamon roll. It was the first small thaw. She sat closer than she had all week. "I'm beat," she said, "but thanks for not making it a fight." "I'm not here to fight you," I answered. "I'm here to be married." She nodded, and for a moment it felt like the floor stopped moving. I let myself believe we were leveling out. 2 days later, she started disappearing in the evenings. "Girls' night," she'd say, pulling on boots. "Ava needs me." "Ava always needs you." I asked. "That's what friends are for." "Got it. Be safe." She'd come back after midnight, smell like bar air and citrus perfume, slip into bed and turn away. When I tried to speak in the morning, it was back to, "I'm tired." After the third girls' night, in a week, I adjusted my own schedule. I signed up for a late coaching slot at the community center where I helped with the high school basketball team. I stopped waiting on her to eat. I cooked for one and packed the rest. I moved my files to the spare room and turned it into an office. I took our joint discretionary budget and split it. 2 envelopes. 2 amounts, 0 debate. Saturday afternoon, she walked in to find me labeling the envelopes with a marker. "What's that?" "Groceries, house stuff on me," I said. "Your fun money is your fun money. Keeps things simple." "You don't trust me with a credit card now?" "I trust you. I also trust math. We've been blurry. I'm making it clear." She laughed once, a short little sound. "Cute. Clarity is very cute. It keeps adults from arguing." That night, she didn't come home until 2. Sunday morning, she made pancakes. She slid one onto my plate and tapped the spatula on the counter. "Truce. I wasn't at war. I've been stressed," she said. "Work, and Ava's going through something." "What's something?" I asked. "Come on, Mark. Not everything is a committee meeting." "True," I said, cutting the pancake. "But when you use Ava like a password for 0 questions, it's not a friendship, It's a fog. She rolled her eyes, but her voice stayed soft. I'll do better. I looked at her. She looked back without flinching. I nodded. We let it go. That was the first illusion of change. I took the breath. She timed it well. By midweek, she was back to ice. The second Friday, she made an announcement while she zipped a small suitcase. Weekend trip, she said. With who? Ava. Cabin near the lake. You've never gone that far without me, I said. You good with the drive? She smiled like she was daring me to blink. I'm not a child. First time for everything. You too good on money? Don't audit me, she snapped. Then she softened, smoothing the zipper. It'll be fine, Mark. I'll text you when we get there. Do that. I carried the suitcase to the door. She kissed my cheek, a drive-by, and left. I watched her taillights fade out at the stop sign. I wanted to believe the weekend would reset something in her head. I wanted my wife back, the one who left sticky notes for me on the fridge and laughed at my terrible jokes. 2 hours later, I went to the store. I was tossing tomatoes into a bag when I saw Ava at the end of the aisle, peering at a jar like it owed her money. I stopped dead. She looked fresh, hair up, keys clipped to her purse, zero road trip dust. Maybe she'd turned around? Maybe my brain was running laps without permission? I walked closer. She didn't look up. Ava, I said. She blinked, surprised. Hey, Mark. What's up? Thought you were out of town. I wish, she said, dropping the jar in the basket. Who told you that? I stared. Jenna. Oh. Her mouth formed a little circle, then closed. We must have miscommunicated. Right, I said. I paid and left. Back home, I sat on the couch with the phone in my hand and didn't press anything for a full minute. Then I opened our shared location app. The little blue dot with her initials wasn't anywhere near a lake. It was a few neighborhoods over, tucked into a side street I didn't recognize. She didn't leave the city, I said out loud to nobody. The dog tilted his head at me like he had thoughts. I grabbed my keys. I drove slow through a quiet block of rental townhouses until I saw her car. It was parked behind a privacy hedge like it was trying not to be seen. The house looked temporary, faux stone, mulched too red, plastic chair on a small patio. Curtains were closed. I sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, counting my own breath. I could have banged on that door. I could have made a scene. Instead, I took a picture of the plate, the address number, and the mailbox with the unit letter. Then I pulled away. On the way home, I called a guy I knew from the gym, Mike. Quiet, steady, used to be in surveillance work. He did private work now. We met at a small cafe by the highway. I told him what I'd seen and kept my tone flat. Can you check her movements since last month? I asked. Places, frequency, who she meets. I'm not looking to star in a drama. I want clarity. He listened without interrupting. Wrote down the address, my basic notes, the routine changes. I'll start tonight, he said. You'll get the first pass tomorrow. Text only, I added. No phone call where she can hear me. And one more thing, keep my name out of it. I work quiet, he said. But Mark, whatever I send, don't react without sleeping on it. I won't react, I told him. I'll decide. I went home, grilled a piece of salmon, ate, cleaned the pan, and sat at my desk. I opened our joint savings and moved a chunk into a separate account in my name. I updated the beneficiary on my work policy to my sister for now. I changed my passcode and the lock code on the garage keypad. I deleted our shared calendar and sent her a short note. Scheduling update. I've moved my commitments to my own calendar. If you need dates, text me and I'll answer. I'm not available for last-minute changes anymore. It wasn't a threat. It was a line. The next morning, right on time, an email hit my inbox from Mike. No long paragraphs. Just a folder with thumbnails and a note. You asked for clarity. I clicked. Image after image. My wife's car parked at that same townhouse on multiple evenings. A man opening the door and glancing down the street. Jenna stepping inside with a grocery bag. Their shadows across those heavy curtains. Timestamps. Another clip from 2 weeks ago. Him picking her up near the park, her sliding into the passenger seat, hair tucked under a cap. My stomach didn't drop. My brain filed it. The word that came to mind was pattern. I scrolled. Another photo. The man again, in daylight this time, walking into a hardware store I knew on the other side of town. I stared, trying to place his face. It clicked when I looked at the jawline. Cole, Ava's husband. We'd had burgers together last fall after a game. I sat back. Every little off detail in our house lined up like a row of nails I'd been stepping on without looking. The girls' nights. The cabin that didn't exist. The cinnamon roll truce. The way she said, Ava, and then changed the subject. The email had one more line from Mike. The townhouse lease is month to month, started 3 months ago. Renter of record, a shell company tied to a small property manager. The man uses that address as a mailing drop for packages. I closed the laptop. The decision was clean. I wasn't going to shout or throw a plate. I wasn't going to sit in therapy to entertain someone else's hobby of double lives. I'd protect my side with paperwork and exit like an adult. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Then I recognized it. Ava. We'd swapped numbers last summer to coordinate a barbecue. I think your wife is seeing someone, she wrote. I stared for a second, then typed. You might want to sit before you read the next line. It's your husband. The typing bubble stopped, started, stopped. A minute later, are you home? Yes. 10 minutes after that, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ava with her keys in a death grip and a look that said she'd rather be anywhere else. I stepped aside. At the kitchen table, I slid the laptop toward her. She clicked through 2 photos and swallowed hard. That's his jacket, she said. He told me he'd donated it. Silence sat between us like a third person. How did you know to text me? I asked. She kept her eyes on the screen. Jenna stopped calling me to actually talk. She only calls when she needs a story. Say you're with me. We're at a bar. We're at a concert. It felt wrong. Today something snapped. You done with it? I asked. I'm done, she said. I won't live like a sidekick who covers for other people's fantasy. I nodded. I'm not living like a prop either. She closed the laptop gently like it was a sleeping baby. What now? She asked. Now we end this properly. I'll have a packet ready for Jenna. Separation, division of stuff, timeline. No theater. You decide your path with Cole on your timeline. She shook her head. He'll talk his way around it. Then hand him paper while you talk. Concrete beats script. She looked at me. You're very calm. Anger is easy, I said. Clean is hard. I'm picking clean. We worked the plan in short sentences. I texted my buddy Tom, a real estate agent, and asked for a short-term lease for me starting next week. I called a storage place and rented a small unit. I made a checklist: clothes, tools, files, heirlooms from my dad. Anything I wouldn't argue about later. By evening, my bags were lined up in the hall, and the guest room closet was empty. I left the furniture. I wasn't interested in dividing chairs. Jenna texted at 8 p.m. We just got in. No service up there. Missed you. I typed back. Good to know you're safe. See you tomorrow. Morning. She called early. I'm going to swing by your office at lunch, she said, like she was confirming a hair appointment. We should talk. Not at my office, I answered. That's a workplace. We'll talk at home at 7. What's the big deal? I keep work clean, I said. 7. She paused. You're being rigid. I'm being clear. At noon, she showed up anyway. I was at my desk reviewing a spreadsheet when my coworker Mike, different Mike, poked his head in. Your wife, he whispered. Jenna stepped into my doorway like she owned the floor. Mark, we'll be quick. I stood, closed my door halfway, but not all the way. People could still see. That was intentional. I wasn't letting this turn into a whisper fight. What's up? I asked. You've been off, she started. You canceled our plans. You're moving money. You changed the garage code. Are you punishing me? I'm protecting the things I'm responsible for, I said. And I'm not discussing our marriage in front of the copier. Her eyes flashed. Then I'll be at home at 7. You better be ready to talk like an adult. I'll be ready, I said. She left. As she passed Mike's desk, he pretended to study a stapler. After she was gone, he knocked against my door with his knuckles. You okay? I'm good, I said. You look like a guy who just set a boundary, he said. It suits you. I smiled once. Feels like wearing the right size shoes. At 6:30, I put a folder on the dining table. Inside, a proposal for dividing property, my new address starting next week, the list of items I'd already moved, the closure of the joint card, a plan for the dog's schedule, and a letter I'd already signed. Ava texted, I'm delivering mine to him at 8. You good? Yes. 7 p.m. at my place. You need me there? I thought a second. Then, be close. If she tries to spin you into it, I don't want you in that room. But be close. At 7 sharp, Jenna walked in with the same suitcase she'd taken on her fake trip. She dropped it, looked at the bags lined up along the hall, then at the folder on the table. "What is this?" "Read," I said. She flipped the cover. The first page was the proposal. The second was a neat stack of photos. The third was a short summary from the investigator with 3 dates and 2 addresses. Her face changed like a door closing. She looked at me, then at the photos again, then back at me. "This is nonsense. It's accurate. Those pictures could be anything." "Sure," I said. "Could be a monthly book club with no books. Could be a home decorating seminar. Could be the tutoring program where people practice how to whisper behind curtains. Could be anything. It's also exactly what it looks like." "You're overreacting," she said. "I'm not reacting. I'm done. I made arrangements for where I'll be. You can keep the house. I'll make it easy. I'm not staying in a place where honesty is optional." She put both hands flat on the table. "You're going to throw away our marriage because you—" I cut her off. "You threw it. I'm just picking up my name on the way out." "This is Ava," she blurted. "She's poisoning you against me." "Funny you bring her up," I said. "She texted me today. She had a hunch. She also has eyes and a brain, and more self-respect than the little drama you two built." Her chin lifted. "You invited her into our marriage?" "You invited Cole," I said, voice steady. "You just forgot to tell me." She stared hard, like she wanted me to blink so she could win the second. I didn't. "Who hired a spy?" she asked, pointing to the summary page. "I hired a professional," I answered. "I wanted facts, not gossip." "This is cruel." "What was cruel," I said, "was walking into this house and asking me to be your safety net while you lived a separate life with someone we both know. What's in that folder is a plan so you and I don't have to rot in a fight." She leaned back and tried a new angle. "We can fix this." "No," I said. "We can go to counseling." "No. We can start fresh." "Fresh starts don't begin at a rental townhouse," I said. "I'm not rebranding the same behavior." She touched my arm, voice soft now. "I made mistakes. You make them, too." "I make mistakes," I said. "I don't make secret calendars." She stepped closer and lowered her voice more, like coaxing a dog. "I'll stop seeing anyone you think I'm seeing. I'll change my number. I'll tell you where I am every minute." That speech, I said, would have meant something before the second photo in that folder existed. "You're not bargaining with me using your own basic behavior. I don't pay for standard features." She pulled her hand back. "You're cold." "I'm clear," I said again. "There's a difference." She glanced at the bags. "You packed?" "Really?" "I moved my keepsakes, tools, work files. Left the rest. I'm not here to strip the walls." The doorbell rang. She looked toward it, annoyed. "Who's that?" I didn't answer. I opened the door. Ava stood there, eyes rimmed red but steady. She saw Jenna and stopped on the threshold. "What is she doing here?" Jenna asked. "Dropping something off," I said. Ava held up an envelope to me, not to Jenna. "For Cole. You asked me to have it prepared. It's done." "Good," I said. "Thanks." Jenna laughed in disbelief. "You two are unbelievable." "No," Ava said, voice even. "We're done with unbelievable." Ava left without another word. I set her envelope on the console table for her to pick up later. Jenna watched me, calculating. "You think this gets you points with her?" "I'm not collecting points," I said. "I'm closing accounts." She grabbed the folder again and flipped through the pages like the order would change. When it didn't, she went for the last trick left in the drawer, tears that meant stop pushing. She didn't sob. She managed to clean what she meant to invite a rescue. "I made dinner," she said quietly, as if one casserole could rewire reality. "I can warm it." "That was the second time," I said. "What?" "The second time you softened at the exact moment I drew a line. First pancakes. Now dinner. The timing is a pattern. Patterns are choices." She stared, then straightened her shoulders. "So you made up your mind?" "I did. What do you want me to do?" "Sign what applies to you. Keep the house if you want it. The mortgage is manageable. If you don't, we'll sell. I'll cover the dog on weekends. I'll be out by tomorrow morning. You'll have space to think. You won't have to carry that suitcase to a townhouse that pretends it's a secret." "You think you're better than me," she said, bitterness landing hard. "No," I said. "I think I'm responsible for how I let myself be treated. That's not about being better. That's about being a grown man." I picked up my keys and my overnight bag. I paused in the hall and looked back at the house we'd made, and the person who looked like my wife and wasn't acting like it. She followed me to the door, voice low and sharp. "If you leave, don't come back." "I'm not leaving," I said. "I'm done." Outside, the evening air was cool. I loaded the last bag into the truck and clicked the tailgate shut. Through the window, I could see her still standing there, hands at her sides, the folder on the table behind her like a piece of equipment she didn't know how to use. I drove to a short-term rental that Tom found. Small place near the river with a clean kitchen and a decent view from the porch. I slept hard, not happy, not sad, just empty in a way that felt like a room after you move the furniture, quiet, echoing, honest. The next week was logistics. I went back during a time she was at work, took what I'd listed, left a note with the remaining items I'd buy a second set of. I forwarded my mail. I texted her the new routine for the dog. Medium talk only. She tried a few more tactics. She came by the rental with lasagna, unannounced. "We don't do pop-ins," I told her at the door. "So you won't even eat what I made?" "I'm not hungry." "This is cruel," she said again, like repetition would turn it true. "What was cruel?" I said. "Was standing next to me at a barbecue last fall, laughing with Cole about how he overcooks everything, and knowing you were already planning a second life. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to remove myself from a place where I'd have to pretend." She looked past me into the tidy living room like she could spot a sign of weakness. When she didn't, she set the dish down, lifted her chin like a dare, and walked away. Cole texted me once. The message was long, apologetic, full of phrases that looked cut from a magazine about self-improvement. I replied with one sentence, "Do not contact me." Ava and I kept our distance out of respect for the smoke still hanging in both houses. But she texted occasionally. "You good?" "Yes." "You need anything?" "No." "You?" "I'm not sleeping great, but I'm getting things done." That was the tone. Two adults standing on separate shores, waving, not jumping into something just because it was available. I respected that about her. She wasn't using me to patch a hole. Neither was I. Back at work, Mike leaned against my doorway one morning. "You look lighter," he said. "I am," I answered. "It's not joy. It's just not carrying something that didn't want to be carried." 3 weeks later, Jenna asked to meet for coffee. Neutral space, daylit, public. I picked a table by the window. She arrived polished, the version of herself that closes deals and gets upgrades. She sat without touching my hand. "I've been thinking," she started. "That's healthy," I said. "I made mistakes. I know that. But we could still restructure this." "Restructure is a word for buildings and teams," I answered. "Not for trust." She stirred her coffee and watched the swirl like it had answers. "People rebuild." "Some do," I said. "Others confuse nostalgia with progress. I'm not going back to a routine where I'm a placeholder during the day and a decoy at night. So that's it." "That's it." She laughed, a hard sound. "You think you're making some statement. I'm making a choice. You can call it what you want. You'll regret it." "I won't. You're not even angry." "I was never owed the life I wanted," I said. "I was responsible for maintaining the one I agreed to. When that agreement stopped existing, my responsibility changed. That's the whole story." "I hope she makes you happy," she said, meaning Ava. "She's not part of this conversation," I replied. We stood. She hesitated, then put her hand out. I shook it like I would with someone I used to work with. "Take care of yourself," I told her. "Really?" Months passed. The paperwork moved the way paperwork moves when two people keep lawyers out of it and use simple math. I signed my part. She signed hers. The house went to her. I took the truck and the tools and my grandmother's table, the one piece of furniture I wanted. I got my own place after the rental, a small house with a maple tree out front and a garage big enough for a workbench. Saturdays I restored an old motorcycle with Tom. Sundays I coached. Evenings I grilled on the porch. It wasn't a movie. It was just a life that fit. One Saturday at the community center, after practice, I found Ava leaning against the wall by the vending machines, hair pulled back, sneakers, a quiet smile. "I was dropping off equipment," she said. "Thought you might be here." "Always am," I said. "How are you?" "Clearer," she answered. He moved out. I kept the dog. I took a pottery class and made several very ugly bowls. "Ugly bowls have a job," I said. "They hold things. That's more than some people." She laughed. You still using sarcasm as a shield? Occasionally, I said. It's cheaper than therapy. We got coffee. We didn't talk about them long. We talked about work, about bikes, about her plan to hike a national trail she'd always wanted to try and never had. She mentioned her parents in Arizona and how her dad was learning to bake. I mentioned my sister and how her kids think I'm a jungle gym. At the end, she put on her jacket. Dinner sometime? She asked, not coy, not desperate. Yeah, I said. Sometime. We can take it slow. I like slow, she said. Fast is how people crash. We started there. No rush, no scripts. A month later, we laughed in a booth at a small diner that served perfect fries. She had paint under her fingernail from a class. I had grease under mine from the bike. It felt clean. I heard things, indirectly, about Jenna. Her social circle shrank by half. The townhouse lease ended abruptly. Cole was seen arguing in a parking lot with someone I didn't know. None of it was my business. I didn't take a victory lap. I didn't need one. The consequences were theirs to carry. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I thought about the house with the warm kitchen and the music and the dog asleep under the table. Those memories didn't hurt. They were proof I could build a good thing and proof I could leave when it stopped being good. Two truths can sit side by side without fighting. The last time I spoke to Jenna was to coordinate the dog's vet visit. Logistics, clean and short. Thanks, she texted when I sent the receipt. Take care, I wrote back. I put the phone down and walked back to the garage. The motorcycle waited, patient. I tightened a bolt and felt the rightness of metal meeting metal, threads catching, doing what they're designed to do. Hold without complaint, if you line them up right. People aren't bolts. They choose. And when someone chooses out, there's only one dignified response. You choose yourself. Months after that, we were at a backyard cookout at Tom's place. The grill hissed. Someone told a bad joke. I was leaning against the fence when a neighbor I barely knew nodded at me. You look settled, he said. I am, I answered. He tipped his beer. Good to see. Ava walked over with 2 plates and handed me one. Burned or perfect? She asked, looking at the burger. Perfect, I said. She looked at me for a beat, like she was checking I meant more than the food. I did. She smiled. We ate. We didn't need to name anything. The night had a clean line running through it. Jenna once told me in the early days that she loved how I solved problems. She liked that I made things easier. That's what I did in the end. I took a mess and gave it edges. I made it easier by removing the only piece I controlled, my presence. The last night in the old house, after I'd moved out but before she changed the locks, I went back with Tom to grab the grandmother table. Jenna wasn't there. The place echoed. We carried it carefully down the steps. I left a small card on the kitchen counter. Not a note pleading for anything. Just a sentence. Respect isn't a negotiation. I locked the door behind me, put the card in the mail slot so it wouldn't blow away, and walked to the truck. Done? Tom asked. Done, I said. He started the engine. We pulled away. The maple tree in front of my new place would need trimming. The bike would need a new carb. The kids at the gym would need a better zone defense. Normal problems. The kind I like. There's a difference between losing and leaving. One happens to you. The other you choose. I chose. And when I set that folder on the table, when I said no to the last-minute coffee and the soft voice and the second illusions, that was the moment the balance flipped. Not with a shout, with a signature and a key returned. People ask, once they hear a trimmed version of the story, what I said to her when I finally walked out with my bag. Nothing poetic. Nothing for a movie.